Well, I think the first time I met him was in the early 2000s. I was in 1750, and which is a high power in LA County Jail, and he was there with me on the chair with me, and yeah, I didn't like him then, and I sure as hell don't really like him till this day. But yeah, he was there. He was there amongst other few other people, but he has always had that same reputation, man, of being that tyrant that I've called him in the past. Yeah, he was there, but that was the first time that I had been around him and met him. I guess the second time that I had ran into him, he ended up he went to prison before I did. I was still fighting my case and stuff, but I was down there on appeal actually at that time, but he ended up going to prison. The following time I was able to see him was when the Asker settlement finally kicked in. After I completed the step down program, and those of us that were in step 3 and 4 into Hatshepsut, they started sending us out to different prisons, and I ended up I was actually endorsed by DRB to go to Centinela prison, but I had documented enemies there on Charlie Yard.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I was specifically going to end up going to B Yard. My Sally at the time was Turtle from Colton, and he ended up going to B Yard there, and I was supposed to follow suit there. I ended up not going there because they got closed for intake. They were barely converted it to a level 4, so what they did was they were building a fence around it to secure the premise for level 4 inmates from a level 3 transforming to a level 4. So they filled up 2 buildings, closed it for intake, and I ended up getting sent to New Folsom. I had been there before years ago, but I ended up when I ended up leaving there, I ended up in orientation. When I got to orientation, my first day there off the bus, Fly got there that morning. He was coming from Pelican Bay, and so we both ended up in orientation the same day. He actually went to Charlie Yard to C Yard for orientation, but he had an enemy there, a documented enemy, whoever that might have been, and so they ended up bringing him to B Yard, and we ended up in orientation 2-block C section together. But soon as I got there, man, he recognized me, and I was handcuffed, being escorted into my cell, coming in the pod, and he called down to me, and I couldn't remember. I said, "Who's that?" And I remember it was Fly, and I was like, "Oh shit, here goes trouble." I knew who he was right away, and yeah, that was the second time I had seen him. So, like with that guy, man, it was just any type of interaction with them, it was always a bad experience for whoever it could have been, other than his peers, obviously, but everybody else, he was always looking for an angle up. In other words, let's say you're his neighbor and he asks you to hold something for him. He's going to accuse you of opening his stuff up and digging in his stuff or meaning like a claw or something, but that's the type of person that he was, you know? And, yeah, he's had many dealings with people that I personally knew that he accused them of doing something wrong towards him, but he was always looking for an angle up and always looking for ways to try to like to pose his authority over you, and that's kind of what he was about, who he was, and just the way he was on how he went about his dealings and stuff. Yeah, yeah, that gets brought up a lot. Like even throughout the system, it's a legendary story. But I was actually in New Folsom on BR when that issue occurred. So basically, the way that went down is something was coming in that the whites had situated with, you know, Billy and Ronnie, and they had going on. And the way everything worked in New Folsom was that everything went to the minimum yard, and from there it found its way, ended up coming to C and B yard. And Fly ends up intercepting the stuff, and it was kind of like, I'm pretty sure you're aware of it, but it was kind of like a big shipment of shit. A couple ounces of this, and I think it was like 15 phones, and so nothing gets to where it needed to go. Fly accuses people on the minimum yard of basically saying that they got it caught up, that it became lost, and he ends up having those people hurt. But in all reality, he ends up actually getting it. And I personally know that because I'm the one that took it from my building to the kitchen because I was a porter in the morning. And so it actually went through my hands, so I kind of knew this. But yeah, man, it sucks. He ended up getting a lot of people crossed up behind it, and what ended up, even me, he tried to accuse me of like opening it up and shit, but you know, that quickly got resolved. As long as he knew I wasn't going to put his business out there or say what happened, you know, he was going to be good with that. But he ended up getting the stuff, and what he ended up doing, I'm sure you know, he kept all the drugs for himself, and but the phones, he was selling them to the EOP dudes, and he made sure that nobody within our two GP buildings actually came in touch with the phones so it wouldn't get brought up out there. And it ends up getting found out months later that the stuff actually did land on the yard, and it did get to him. So one day, Billy and Ronnie, they were kind of like lushes, man. Them dudes love drinking lightning. And they ended up approaching Fly one day, going to his cell door, and basically they were a little bit tipsy, and they basically called him out, telling him, you know, hey, we know you got our shit, man. We know you fucking lied to us. Basically, you're a, they called him a bitch. They told him to tell the whites they're going to tell the whites to stay out of it, and for him to tell the Southsiders to stay out of it, and basically to come to the yard, and that, in their own words, basically they were going to kill each other. And yeah, that was that. But that's kind of how that thing transpired, you know? Yeah, I think it was about where I was talking about the yard crews, the Mexican and white yard crews going out to the yard with a bunch of weapons and stuff on them. And one of the white yard crews goes down to the program office, and he basically tells the cops, like, hey, you know, I was asked to bring all these out here. I'm pretty sure that all the other yard crew members probably have them as well. So they end up hitting the alarm and rushing the yard crew members because when they hit the alarm, you know, everybody has to prone out. So when they proned out, they end up finding 8-9 weapons on each of the yard crew members. So they end up locking the yard down for safety concern, and they end up snatching up Mosca and taking him to the hole for safety concerns, saying that his life was in danger and that he was going to be targeted. So we ended up getting locked down for about a month behind that. And I think they were going to bring us up for like, I don't know, they were going to bring us up. We never even actually came up, and they locked us down again for an additional month. So, yeah, it was an interesting thing. So during the lockdown, words started getting to spread around about what transpired between Billy and Ronnie and Fly. No, basically, I mean, you know, the way it was is that, in my opinion, I think that was probably one of the best things that could have happened, because no doubt things would have lit up, man, and it would have been a bad situation. A lot of people would have been hurt. That goes to show you, a lot of people would have been hurt over one person's selfish greed, you know? A lot of people would have been hurt. And, you know, the whites didn't play around over there. And, you know, the Southsiders, they're usually really, really combative and violent themselves. And so it would have definitely went up. And at the end of the day, it would have put Fly in a bad situation where he would have had to explain himself to everybody else, which is his peers, about what actually transpired or the reasons why. So he dodged a bullet there, but they eventually did bring him back, and he did end up resolving that. And I'm pretty sure, he coughed up a lot of bread behind it, paid a lot of money to keep that hush hush. But yeah, so that's kind of how that incident unfolded there.
So ultimately, what do you think led to Flies' demise?
Just like everything else, man, greed, money and greed. A lot of money came up short. Fly blamed his wife. She blamed him. And that's just how the ball rolls. Same thing like Güero Verde, same thing with all of them. Money and greed.
It's a very interesting thing what happened to Güero Green from Verdugo. It's a sad situation because from my understanding, his wife Carmen was also killed, and unfortunately, I think that she was killed in front
This
of
call
their
and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
killed in front of their 10-year-old daughter or 11-year-old daughter or something along those lines. It's a very sad situation, and I think one of the hitters that killed Carmen, from my understanding, one of the hitters was actually killed as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it is unfortunate, man, but when the wives involve themselves, with their husband's activities, they're kind of like, they're getting their nails dirty as well, and that's how it is. And, she actually passed away months before Güero did. So I know he's seen that coming. He was trying his best to fix his situation, but yeah, that was an uphill battle, man, that he was never going to win. So
imagine being in that cold cell and finally getting that confirmation that your wife was viciously killed. Imagine that.
Yeah,
that's a
devastating,
crazy cold
to say
world.
the least. Yeah, it sure is, man. It sure is. And it just goes to show, man, at the end of the day, a lot of this stuff just isn't worth it. It's just not worth it, man. It's not. It all leads to, everybody's story is the same. There's not nobody that actually has an accomplished story about becoming successful or, changing their life around, or, no matter the ones who claim to have been able to do it, maybe Kilroy and a couple others, but at the end of the day, it's not worth it.
1,000%, it's not worth it, man. And even for those of you that are still actively living the lifestyle, man, it's never too late to just focus on your family. It's never too late to just, focus on yourself, on bettering yourself. Maybe going back to college, maybe picking up a few classes, joining a tech school, or opening up a business, man. Because all those things are a lot better than picking up that gun, man. I'll tell you that right now, man. A lot of you guys are carrying around felonies right now just by carrying that pistol around. It ain't worth it, man. Put it down.
Yeah, definitely. But a lot of people, man, they're so wrapped up in this belief that they have, and at the end of the day, they're allowing another man to dictate their program and their life, and what to do, when to do, and that's kind of like shameful, to be honest. It's kind of shameful, but they're so caught up and wrapped up in their own beliefs, and a lot of these people have to live to learn. You could sit here and try to preach to some people, and for the most part, a lot of them is kind of like, just by me even saying this, I'm pretty sure a lot of them are going to feel that way, but it's the truth. It's the truth, man. But, to live to learn, and hopefully somebody will take something from some of these stories and maybe get their head screwed on right and realize that it's just a waste of time, man. It's a waste of life, having to live by another man's views or what he decides your program's going to be. And, instead of the real family who you have out there and the real people who actually really love you and trying to strive to become a better person for them, you know. But yeah, it's kind of sad.
No one ever mentions the family, man. How much pain have you put your jefita through? How much pain have you put your family through by your incarceration?
Yeah, I know. I'm pretty sure it's a lot more than what I actually am aware of. But yeah, my mom, she used to worry a lot, man, and she was always, stressed out and just really worried, and especially being involved in a lot of stuff. And she just didn't like it. She didn't like it, and I feel guilty now that I put her through so much of the stuff. And yeah, it sucks. It does suck.
Is it before we end this conversation, sir? Is there anything else that you would like to end this video with? I would definitely like to have you on for another session throughout the future. And if anybody out there would like to drop a question that you want me to ask me, please go ahead and drop in the comment section. But before we end this, sir, is there anything else that you would like to say?
No, not really, man. I feel like everything that needs to be told is told, with these questions asked, and I'll do my best to enlighten everybody as best as I can. Some people might feel like I'm holding back, but in truth, it's not really a good comfortable level. But at the same time, I feel like if I can help somebody or maybe steer somebody away from or at a crossroads maybe and trying to make a better decision or wanting to do better for themselves, if I could do that, then I feel like I'm wronging some of I'm righting some of the wrongs, and just knowing that is good enough for me. So I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, let me